Metallica rose from garage band to global stadium phenomenon on their own terms. By the time they began making radio singles and music videos, they had already carved out a powerful place in heavy metal history.
They were playing arenas before MTV even heard of them.
Radio was nowhere, MTV, definitely big no-no. No one would help us, so we played live. We played till we dropped.
Metallica's music is laden with hard-hitting images of adolescent rage, suicide, drug addiction, mental illness, and political violence. Their lyrics take on taboos, set to the spirit of pure rock and roll rebellion.
A battery works off positive and negative, So we were very good at the negative stuff.
James Hetfield was born in Downey, California in 1963, and raised in a strict Christian Science family broken by divorce. When James was a teenager, cancer claimed his mother's life.
Doctors and hospitals are kind of like taboo, and with the help of God, you will get better. You're kind of going with it, but you feel it's not quite right, and you're at school, and okay, now it's time for health class, and I have to get up and leave. Learning about the body wasn't necessary. This is a shell, and what's true is your soul and all this. So actually leaving class and then getting, all the little kids. So that was the beginning of alienation, I believe, as a child.
Back then, James was like the most introverted person you've ever seen. He didn't really talk. Anytime you'd see him, he'd just, hey, how's it going? Pick up his guitar and just start jamming away,
In 1963, on the other side of the globe, Lars Ulrich was born to a prominent Danish tennis pro. For a time, he was groomed to follow in his father's footsteps.
The thing was that in Denmark, I was somebody, ranked sort of somewhere in the top 10s in my junior years and so on. When I came to the States in like 1980, I was basically like, I wasn't even ranked in the top 10 on the block I lived on.
In the beginning, he was sort of kind of an air guitar guy, and going completely, crazy with his broomstick or whatever, or a kind of a racket, Of course, a tennis racket can also be sort of an air guitar, right?
Drums had been the kind of hobby away from tennis, and at the tail end of 1979, there was what was called the new wave of British heavy metal. Iron Maiden, Def Leppard, Motorhead, Saxon, Tigers of Pantang, Diamond Head, Angel Witch, the list goes on. It was the attitude. The attitude came from Motorhead.
Rock and roll is supposed to bring you crazed joy and rebellion for no apparent reason, for its own sake, right? That's what it started out as, music to piss your parents off with.
James and Lars met in Los Angeles in 1981, drawn together by fate, and the musicians wanted ads in a local paper.
Under heavy metal, there were two guys, and it was me and him. Lars had this drum kit. It was 10 different colors, one cymbal. He hit it, it kept falling over.
Finally, he sits down, and he's just like, I'm going, you sure this guy played drums before?
What Lars may have lacked musically, he more than made up for with his personal connections in the heavy metal scene. Lars had a friend who was producing a compilation album featuring local metal bands.
Lars called me up and said, hey, if I put together a band, can I be on your compilation album? I said, yeah, absolutely, no problem.
Lars had really had a spot on the record, but no band. So, in my kind of will and maybe greediness to get going in this thing, said, okay, we'll hook up.
The band had a spot reserved on an upcoming album. Soon they had a second guitarist, Dave Mustaine.
I went in there and I set up my gear. I started warming up, and these guys were all in the other room. And I walked in there and I said, come on, let's go. And they said, you got the job. And I went, well, that's easy.
In 1981, Metallica's frenetic two-guitar sound was a direct assault on LA's softcore glam rock scene.
We weren't doing what they were doing. They were playing pretty much cheeky music because they wanted the girls, and all we wanted to do was rule the world.
If you came here to see spandex and big hair, this ain't your band. And that was kind of became our war cry,
Metallica met with an apathetic response in the LA clubs, which only served to fuel their aggressive play.
That developed our style. We were up on stage. We wanted attention. We're going to play louder. We're going to play faster.
In the winter of 1981, a benefit for Metal Mania magazine brought the band to San Francisco. The city was a hotbed for the new heavy metal movement.
Everybody just wanted to make the most obnoxious, loudest, scare your parents, annoy people, fastest music you could.
That heavy crunch stuff was way new, and everybody loved it, you know. It tickles your same kind of funny bone that makes you break windows when you're a kid.
One of those Bay Area fans was Exodus guitarist Kirk Hammett.
I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was the most original, heaviest, fastest thing I had ever seen in my life.
By the time Metallica returned to Los Angeles, tensions within the band were building. Dave Mustaine's drinking was getting out of hand.
There was always some clashing between Ron and Dave. Ron couldn't hang. He didn't want to be a part of it anymore.
Ron was soon out, and Metallica was in the market for a new bassist.
Lars had asked me, they were kind of looking around for another bass player, and he asked me if I knew anybody. I said, well, why don't you guys come down and see this band Trom at the Troubadour? They're pretty cool. I think you might like the bass player.
When I first saw Cliff Burton, I'd never seen anybody quite like him on stage.
And his head banging on stage, I mean, nobody banged like him. It was insane. I remember the first time I saw them play with him, I was like, oh my God, look at that guy.
The next day after a performance, he'd get up and, oh God, my neck, I can't understand. Cliff, what do you mean? Your neck, you're bouncing your head up and down all night long and you wonder why your neck hurts. So, but anyway, he kind of smiled.
You know, after 6 months of courting him, it just came to the point where he would join the band on that one condition, which was if we wanted him in the band, Metallica goes to Northern California.
LA sucks!
We really had no problem with that. LA wasn't treating us very well at all.
Metallica moved to San Francisco in the spring of 1983 and rented a small house in El Cerrito. These were lean times for the band, but they had found a home for their unique brand of metal.
We'd just move all the furniture out of the house and invite 50 headbanging friends over, put Venom on the stereo, and just thrash the place, you know?
By the time you walk in the club, we just be like, metal rules! That guy's got a blonde stripe in his hair. Kill him, kiss that Motley Crue creep.
There was kids with denim jackets on that had Metallica patches on the back, and the support band was playing, and they turned around, they turned their backs on them, and we're standing there doing this, you know? And it's like, wow, they're loyal to us. They're our people, you know?
In 1983, Metallica had moved to San Francisco to join forces with eccentric bass genius Cliff Burton. When Lars circulated Metallica's 7-song demo, No Life Till Leather, the band became an underground sensation.
That they had this huge, giant following before they even really had a record out.
Metallica's demo wound up in the hands of Johnny and Marcia Zazula, who ran a music flea market in New Jersey called Rock and Roll Heaven. It was the East Coast capital of the growing metal movement.
Metallica was the answer to America's prayers. They were the first band we heard that really made America look
They gave
good.
the American headbanger something to hang their hat on.
Johnny Z offered to manage Metallica and to secure them a recording deal.
So we come out to New York and we meet this guy who was giving us, you know, $75 to drive across the country. It's like, hi, we're Metallica. Hi, I'm Johnny Z. Well, John, come here. Well, you see the guy with the Dave Mustaine? We're actually going to get rid of him next week. Whoa.
And we all got up early one morning and walked into the other room where Dave was sleeping. And
shake, shake, shake. Dave wakes up and rolls over. And, what's going on, guys?
I look up and I see the four of them. They said, you're out of the band. And I said, what, no warning? No second chance?
the famous line, Dave, you're out of the band. When's my plane leave?
Well, you're spending the next 4 days on a Greyhound bus that leaves in 45 minutes, so pack your together and let's go to the bus station before you even know what hit you. And that was that.
No sooner had Dave Mustaine boarded a bus than Kirk Hammett arrived in New York to audition for the band.
The first song we played was Seek and Destroy. And Kirk pulled off this solo. It was like, things are going to be all right, man.
And we went to the studio and recorded Kill 'Em All. From then on, I thought, well, I guess I'm in the band.
We parlayed everything we had to make this Kill 'Em All record. We thought this was an amazing record. It was a classic.
We have a debut album out on Megapush Records. It's called Kill 'Em All. We're glad to kill all you tonight. Who wants this?
The international metal underground was primed for Metallica's first album, Kill 'Em All, and sales soared to over 300,000. The band toured Europe and America for most of 1983, supporting the album and widening their audience.
lived it, they breathed it, they slept it, metal. And the kids did the same exact thing.
We were very proud that we were 4 regular guys in street clothes getting up there and jamming.
Now, why should we change? We're on stage, and we're not trying to be something big and fancy, you know. It's just us doing what we do. Let's keep it that way.
In 1984, the new American metal scene had found a champion in Metallica. When the band's second album, Ride the Lightning, was picked up by Elektra Records, it quickly went gold.
Because of the buzz that they'd created live, it just worked out perfectly for Elektra. So it was one of those things that felt like a no-brainer. Just we put out the record, and because of word of mouth, kids just started buying it.
On the road, Metallica's unabashed love of alcohol became the stuff of legend. So much so, the press took to calling them
Alcoholica.
Alcoholica.
Alcoholica justified, absolutely.
It basically grew out of our love for vodka.
They were never a drug band. They were never, you know, like the American bands all want to get high. They like to drink.
We had discovered this lovely after-dinner drink called Jägermeister. There was a certain opiate in it that got you extremely violent.
You'd have people like literally walking into walls, taking their clothes off. I mean, this stuff was lethal.
Standing up on the bar, taking a piss, whatever, you know, getting your nuts out at a restaurant.
I guess it's sort of like a East Bay attitude, you know, crush, kill, destroy, smash.
You know, whatever the bill was, it was all worth it. It's all rock and roll. It's all being on tour.
Their rough and tumble touring life did nothing to slow Metallica down. And in the spring of 1986, the band released its third album, Master of Puppets. It sold 1 million copies without the benefit of a radio single or music video. Metallica toured for 6 months with Ozzy Osbourne. It would be their last as a supporting act.
They really give me a run for my money every night. The crowd were going nuts for them, you know, stealing the show most of the nights. They were really hard to follow.
On tour, Metallica indulged in classic rock and roll excess.
And when you're 22 years old and all you want to do is get laid and get drunk and live all those excesses that you hear about or read about, and all of a sudden they're right in front of you.
We'd come right off stage into the showers, and there'd be, you know, a whole locker room shower filled with women. I mean, how great is that?
That happened. Plenty. Tub tarts, shower. 8 women washing you down at once, you know. Not a bad feeling.
But Metallica's wild ride would soon come crashing to a halt. On September 27th, 1986, the band was traveling by bus on the road between Stockholm and Copenhagen. Earlier that night, a friendly dispute between Kirk and Cliff over sleeping arrangements concluded with a draw of cards.
The first card that Cliff picked was the Ace of Spades, and he looked at me and said, "I want your bunk." And I said, "Fine, take my bunk, I'll sleep up front. That's probably better anyway, you know." Later on that night, at about 5 or 6 in the morning, I heard a skidding, I heard a vibration, and then this motion. I thought we were going off a cliff.
He overcorrected to get back onto the road, and as he did, the back end came around this way, and it started chomp, chomp, chomp.
It's the sound of screeching brakes and being flipped around like a piece of clothes in a dryer.
Just got woke up, like hot coffee getting poured all over me, you know, from the coffee machine, and, you know, the bus was on its side.
And I heard everyone screaming except for Cliff. And I thought, oh my God, something's wrong.
Seeing the bus driver just, you know, freaking, frantic.
And I turned around and I saw Cliff's legs sticking out from underneath the bus.
I went to, you know, pull him out, wake him up or whatever. It's like, you know, he's not moving.
He just got thrown out the window and boom, the bus landed on him. And basically, by all accounts, I mean, he never woke up.
Early Saturday morning, September 27th, 1986, on the road near Ljungby, Sweden, Cliff Burton died.